morning. We have seen previous corrosion control methods, isn't it? We have seen what is galvanization, how it occurs, what is anodizing, and we also taken an example of aluminium and have seen how anodizing of aluminium is done, right? So another corrosion control technique is cathodic protection. So what is cathodic protection? How cathodic protection is done? Let us discuss today. Why corrosion occurs? Corrosion mainly occurs due to supply of electrons from anode to cathode. So it's supposed to protect anode, not cathode. Our main intention in corrosion control is to protect anode from undergoing corrosion. So if we supply electrons to cathode from some other external source, then anode will not undergo corrosion, isn't it? Or if we convert this entire anode as cathode, then what happens? Further, anode will not undergo corrosion. So the process of converting cathode, the process of converting anode, or the process of converting the specimen to cathode, or supplying the electrons to cathode from some other external source is called as cathodic protection. Let us see how this cathodic protection is done. Okay, so as I told, so the technique of protecting specimen from corrosion by providing electrons from external source or converting anodic sites to cathodic sites is known as cathodic protection. So there are mainly two types of cathodic protections. They are sacrificial anodic method and impressed voltage method. So you know what is sacrificial, right? So what do you mean by sacrificial anodic method, and why this method is so called? Let's discuss today. Okay, so here metal to be protected from corrosion is converted to cathode. So cathodic protection is done in two methods. One is the specimen is converted to cathode. Other thing is the electrons to the specimen is supplied from some other external source. So first method is applied over here. Okay, the specimen to be protected is converted to cathode by connecting to some other anodic metal. The specimens usually will be like zinc, usually will be like iron or copper or magnesium. So the anode metal will be zinc or magnesium, which are higher in electrochemical series. So when you connect the higher the metal, for instance, let us consider iron is specimen. So iron is undergoing corrosion. So as soon as you connect this zinc to this, what will happen? Zinc is acting as anode, iron is acting as cathode. So zinc undergoes corrosion, protecting the iron is acting as cathode. So zinc is sacrificing itself to protect the metal is acting as cathode. So since anode undergoes corrosion, protecting the specimen is called as sacrificial anodic method. So this method is usually used to protect the base of the ship. Okay, so the ship undergoes what type of corrosion? Differential aeration corrosion, isn't it? So part of ship which is under the water will act as anode, and rest of the part is above the water will act as cathode. So part of ship is below water acting as anode undergoes corrosion, whereas other part of ship which is above water will act as cathode. So let us consider the ship base is made up of iron. So you are going to attach a zinc hull. What do you mean by hull? It will be a hook like this. It will be usually used to tie the ships in the seashores. A huge hull will be attached to the base of the ship. As soon as it is attached, so until now this base of the ship was acting as anode. So as soon as you attach the zinc, what will happen? Zinc will act as anode. This hull will act as anode. This entire base will be converted as cathode. So zinc starts undergoing oxidation or corrosion, supplying electrons to this. Okay, so zinc is sacrificing itself to protect this part. So since zinc is sacrificing itself, it is called as sacrificial anodic method. So advantages: it is low installation cost, low maintenance, and it is very simple method. Of course, it is a main disadvantages. It is recurring charges will be there. So every time this hull is gone, you're supposed to replace the new one. Okay, this is the sacrificial anodic method. Now let us see what is impressed voltage method. So impressed voltage method. So in cathodic protection, we have the other thing. So in order to protect this specimen, so what you're going to do? We're going to supply the electrons to the cathode from some other external DC source. So supplying the electrons from some other external DC source is called as impressed voltage method. So this impressed voltage method is usually used to protect the metal structures which is carrying oil tanks or water tanks or oil pipelines which is buried the under earth. Okay, so these are used for that. So usually if you go to petrol pumps, so petrol is or diesel will be under the underground. So in the entrance or exit there will be a fence. So there will be two poles, entry is restricted. So the buried petrol tanks or diesel tanks are protected from impressed voltage. So we're going to apply a voltage to these tanks which is greater than the corrosion current. When you apply the voltage greater than the corrosion current, it will protect this entire structure. So let us see how this can be done. So the metal which you are supposed to protect, so or metal or specimen or a base metal which you are supposed to protect from corrosion, it is made as cathode. So this is the cathode. So let us consider the tank underground to be protected. That is made as cathode. We can take inert metal such as graphite as anode and connect to external power supply, that is DC power supply. Going to supply electrons. Why you are supposed to make this as anode, cathode? Because it will take electrons, supplying electrons from this is our power source. So only cathode accepts electrons, isn't it? So when you connect to the external power source, electrons will move from here to here. So the electrons should be equally supplied throughout the structure. If 10 electrons are here, equal current should be here. Sorry, not electrons. The voltage should be equal throughout the tank. Whatever voltage is here, it should be same here, 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 or any part of this. If there is unequal distribution of voltage, then what will happen? The localized galvanic cells will be formed and localized corrosion may occur. So in order to prevent that, the voltage whatever you are passing, that is impressed voltage, of course it is very very small current, if you touch also nothing will happen. That current should be passed equally throughout the metal structure which is protected from impressed voltage method, that is by cathodic protection. Okay, so let us see what are the advantages. So it is low maintenance cost, or one of the major advantage. One installation can protect large area of metal. Disadvantage, as I told you, impressed current should be uniform or else localized corrosion occurs. So if you come back to sacrificial anodic method, so it is mainly used to protect ships. So as I told, ships, if it is not protected, if it is hull is not there, by the time if they see ship sail from one seashore to the other seashore, the entire base of the ship will corrode. Of course this ship will not sail from this seashore to the other shore. What will happen? As soon as it moves half away, corrosion will be intense to the peak because of the medium. So what will happen? A small hole will be formed, water will flush into the ship and ship will sink, right? So in order to prevent all these things, we're going to, these are the techniques even to today is followed. Okay, there's a small video here which shows how metals are protected from